What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Multiverse Monologues, the podcast show where we like to travel across the multiverses and fandoms that we love and give our thoughts, our monologues even, on what we like and what we don't like. I am your co-host, Ben Rayside, and today we are traveling to Wesley Snipes' Blade universe from the early 2000s as part of our Marvel movie marathon, where we watch every single Marvel film that has ever been put to theaters. But before we do so, I'd like to introduce to you the gentleman who helped make this podcast happen. Joining us today, as always, is Ethan Wentzloff. Ethan, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic, Ben, and I'm super excited to talk about Blade 2.
Nice. And just as Ethan joins us every week, another man has so graciously offered his time to accompany us on this massive undertaking, and that is Micah Hett. Micah, how are you doing tonight?
Oh man, I'm doing great. This might be the movie I am the most excited about that we've talked about so far.
Oh, that is good stuff because I think I'm right there with you. Well, gents, what do you say? Let's hit the hyperdrive. Let's get in our TARDIS. Let's open that portal, whatever floats your multiversal boat, and let's head over to Wesley Snipes' Blade universe.
Forget what you think you know. Vampires exist. My name is Blade. I was born half human, half vampire. They call me the Daywalker. I have all their strengths, none of their weaknesses, except for the thirst.
Before we get into it, make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel where we post this podcast every week if you want to see our beautiful faces, of course. But if you want early access to these podcasts for our Marvel movie marathon, they are always going to be up on Mondays on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. A 5-star review on any of those sites would be greatly appreciated. But gentlemen, let's get into it. Enough of all this hullabaloo. All right? What did you think of Blade 2? Mike, I'll shoot this question to you first.
Dude, this movie. Wow, we thought that the first one was good. I think this is going to be the first movie, an old movie. You know, it's an early 2000s. Oh, they're cheesy. Oh, they're just bad. They're known for being really cheesy and, it's just whatever. They're just throwaway action movies. But this one, I think this is not only a better sequel, but also a good standalone movie.
I am right there with you. But before I give my thoughts, Ethan, what do you think?
Yeah, going along with what Mike has said, this movie is an awesome sequel, and I really love the way they incorporate the horror elements to it and just the expanded cast. And it's just got so much fun scenes to it. It's just overall, like, when I go into a movie, the biggest thing is I have to be entertained. And this movie, I'm entertained the whole time.
I'm right there with you. I think this is a prime example of a movie that takes what the first film built and totally expands upon it in the best way possible. And I think it's a case of that this whole deal that we've got going on here with Blade 2 is the main character Blade is in a universe that is as interesting or more interesting than he is. Because just like the first movie, this movie has great world building. In an hour and 57 minutes, which is the runtime of this film, it invites you back into this universe, and it is just so picture perfect because it's not the Dark Knight quality. It definitely is not. But it's the Batman it's the Dark Knight to the Batman Begins, where it's better than that first one in every way possible, in my opinion. There are so many scenes I can point to in this movie that just stand out like a sore thumb for being awesome. And I'm like you, Micah. I watched the movie, and at the very end, boom, after Blade goes, "You didn't think I was going to forget about you, did you?" Boom, Guillermo del Toro's name pops up, and I'm
Dude.
like, are you kidding me? No wonder this film is so good.
All right, so this movie was made possible by Guillermo del Toro. This movie would not be what it is if it were not for him. And it's also a very important part of Guillermo del Toro's catalog. He's only directed, looks like 22 things in total, which is a lot fewer than I thought for how famous of a director he is. This is his fourth movie, and it's his second high budget one ever.
Oh, wow.
Like this is one of his early movies.
What was the first high budget one?
So Devil's Backbone, I've heard of that one before. It's one of his more, it's like the one that made him famous pretty much. I think it's either that one or Mimic. Those are his real, no, not Mimic. Okay. So The Devil's Backbone was one of his first movies where it really showed off what he can do. And that came out a year before Blade 2. So I don't know the exact timeline, but from what I'm seeing here, after this, he started pumping out movies. And this movie really was the launch of so many different actors. So we know Wesley Snipes. He's already been in movies before, but then there was secondary Chris Christopherson, famous actor, whatever. Norman Reedus. What? He came out of nowhere.
So Ben told me that he was in this movie like a couple weeks ago, but I forgot about it. And when I turned on the screen and I saw Norman Reedus there talking to Wesley Snipes, I just got, as a huge Walking Dead fan, I got so overwhelmed with joy just to see Norman in this.
He looks like he's in his 20s.
He looks
so young.
It also, though, he looks like the exact same he does today.
I know. He sounds different. He sounds like he's a couple
he does
cigarette packs
younger.
less.
Yeah.
It gave me first and second seasons of Walking Dead vibe to see him with the short hair, working with Blade. Like that look and that like kind of grainy filming that this has, it totally reminded me of those early seasons of Walking Dead. But Micah mentioned this, Chris Christopherson, Whistler's back.
Yeah, what's
okay.
up?
So here, I'll outright say this. I'm ready to be convinced by you two, but as of right now, I do like the first Blade film better than this one.
Okay.
And this Whistler thing is a big reason why, because I thought that was one of the biggest, most emotional parts in the first film, and they totally like retcon that whole scene in a way that really is just so like shocking and from left field. First scene, first monologue you get with Blade, he reveals that Whistler's alive.
I think such an amazing character in the comics. He's so influential towards Blade, and to just throw him out in the first movie.
Not in the comics. I'll say
not in the
that.
comics. Okay, maybe not then. Maybe I don't know.
But
I'm making things up. So
here's my thing. I don't want to like start with hating the movie because there's so much good to it, but I feel like Whistler's character, they didn't give much to even do in this movie. I found Scud way more compelling in his role. And I feel like this movie could have happened without bringing Whistler back. I think some situations are elevated because you have that, is he or is he not a vampire in there, but they never really do anything with that. And I don't know. He doesn't really have anything huge in the plot.
So it put me on edge for most of the time. Whenever there's a scene with Whistler, I was like, "Uh-oh, is this where he's going to turn?" You know, when he's getting beat up, was that where he's going to turn? Or so I definitely was on edge for quite a bit of it. And he's an excellent foil to Norman Reedus' character.
Yes,
Scud.
he is.
So, and I thought that them working together was really cool. And him saying at the end, I was starting to like that kid. That was funny.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I love having him back in the movie. I loved him in the first one. I just think the way they did it was a little not to my taste.
So you don't like that he comes back and doesn't have much to do? Like they just brought him back to bring him back because he was a fan favorite character? Is that right?
That's my thing. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
I think he had a purpose in that team though, because Blade had to have more people on his side. We had to feel that betrayal more. So Norman Reedus Scud, he was befriending not only Blade for that long time, but we also get to see his redeeming qualities with Whistler. We get to see how useful he actually is, and that he's not just some Joe Schmo who doesn't really know what he's doing. So that kind of helps to build that plot twist at the end. I think that without Whistler, we would have just Blade and Scud are friends. So that's just all the character development we see with them. But it develops.
Here, the main thing though is so when after that opening monologue, it does a flashback scene where basically they give us the exact same scene that we got in the last Blade film where Whistler has to shoot himself. But I would have liked, if they were going to give us that scene, I would have liked the perspective of Whistler to see what happened, because you still see him pull the trigger. That would have completely changed my whole mentality of it. Because I thought that part in the first film was just so emotional, and I thought it was really good. So it just, I don't know.
Give us more than recycled footage, is what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah. Give us a new scene.
I don't know. It didn't really. I felt like he was, and I guess this is to your point. I felt like he was the least interesting part of the movie, so I didn't really give him even much thought. Like, I was glad they brought him back, and then they didn't really do much with him, but I was totally focused and enamored with Blade and everything that was going on with the vampires, and not just the vampires. We have a new faction of vampire. Well, I guess, what are they called? They're called Reapers, are they not?
A new
Yeah.
like breed of vampire.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Reapers.
Which, oh my gosh, I mean, the CGI in the first movie was a little rough, and I think this one does a little bit better with those with their mouth that opens
Because
up.
it's Guillermo del Toro. It's Guillermo del Toro.
Is it?
He
The mouth
loves
effect
practical effects.
yeah.
Guillermo del Toro is known for his practical effects. Him and what was like his you guys seen Pan's Labyrinth?
No, but
That movie
I've
is
always wanted to
all
watch
practical effects. It's all practical effects.
Wow.
I don't think that there's a lick of CGI in that whole thing.
And I will say this, one of the coolest scenes in this movie is the autopsy on one of the Reapers.
Yeah.
That scene
Yes.
where it's cut open and you're literally looking at this new breed of vampire.
Those Reapers are so cool. So
Yes.
my favorite part about the prosthetics was, so what they would do is they would go and they would have different puppets, right? And those puppets would have the full prosthetic going, but sometimes they would need the actor to
Yeah.
go into that mode, and it was such a smooth CGI. I thought that CGI was seamless.
I thought that was 100% seamless. I was so surprised that a movie that came out in 2002 could have CGI and also practical effects that rivaled some of the greats. Like that alien autopsy scene you mentioned. If you've seen Alien, the bug that bursts out of the chest of that character, I totally got those vibes. And I was like, dude, this is one of the coolest things. I'm loving this right now. But I would say that the best part of this movie is, again, what I love the most, the world building, the whole vampire community. And now it's not just the vampire community, it's the Reapers. You expand on it now, and now Blade has to work together with the vampires, which once I knew that was the plot, and Blade and Scott, right, that's his name, have to work with
Scud.
Yeah, Scud.
yeah, they have to work with vampires. I was fully on board. I was like, are you kidding me? This is the coolest thing. And then Nissa, who is a much more interesting female lead than, was it Leah from the first
Oh,
one?
much more interesting. Yes.
I forget her name. That's why how
Completely
forgettable she
agree.
is. But I don't forget Nissa. I think she's a better female lead because she is a vampire and she can play off that. You know, we're not so different, Blade, from you. And I don't know.
She has more purpose in the story too.
Yes.
It's not just like, oh, I'm the guy in the chair who just makes the serum once.
And
Like that was all
Yeah.
that she did in that first movie.
I think that was intentional by Guillermo. Like, you're not just you don't just have some director. You know, I've never heard of the director who directed Blade 1. I don't know any other films that he's done, but I've heard of Guillermo del Toro. Like, he is one of the greats, along with Christopher Nolan and the big directors, Quentin Tarantino of today's age. But I think another great addition to this movie is the group of vampires that go with Blade, dude.
The Blood Pack.
The Blood Pack. Are you
You
kidding
guys
me?
you guys recognize one of those dudes?
I recognize a couple of those dudes, actually.
Yeah, a couple of those dudes. All right, so this was, I've got IMDb pages pulled up.
There we go.
Ron Perlman,
Mhm.
who is like Guillermo del Toro's favorite actor ever.
He did Hellboy, for those
Yeah.
of you who don't know. That's probably his most famous role.
This was like his first role too. I mean, he was in tons of stuff before, TV shows, minor roles. He was Hulk in the Avengers show. He was Clayface in Batman show. He was just whatever character has a deep voice, pretty much, in
Right.
shows and things. But this was like his first, from what I'm seeing. I mean, he was in Animaniacs too. He was big in Animaniacs. But this was like his first big movie from what I'm seeing here. Yeah, so that was awesome. Ron Perlman, the premiere, pretty much. And then we see Donnie Yen,
Rogue One,
who
baby.
I know him from
Imwe,
Rogue
my
One.
boy. Dude.
This was like his first movie that was in English.
I'm kind of sad that he got so little to do in the movie, even though he was apparently one of the fight choreographers for the film.
One fight was awesome.
Yeah, he gets killed, I think, pretty dookie, I think.
Unceremoniously.
Yeah, he just kind of dies at the end, and I'm like, oh, dang it, Donnie Yen, the fight choreographer. I was hoping he would go out with a big fight, but I guess not. Also, fun fact about Ron Perlman's character Reinhardt, he never takes off his glasses during the whole movie. He has his glasses. You never see his eyes.
And you see how the only hair he has on his head is like it looks like a strap, like he has a headband.
Yeah, and it goes into his goatee thing too. But it's just one straight line. It's not a.
I have never seen that hairstyle before in my life. I don't even know if you'd call it a hairstyle, a beard style, I guess, that encompasses the back of your head. I have no idea, but it was.
I mean, you have
else.
before. You just haven't seen the rest of the head shaved like that.
I guess that's true. He was such a big, like, he is a perfect Hollywood actor. He has such a recognizable face because of how, like, I don't know if strange is the right word, but I'm gonna use it anyway.
For Ron Perlman, yeah, he's got a unique face to him. Yeah,
right, exactly.
He's recognizable, and he's got that voice too.
Yeah, that's true. Very deep voice. So, just to tie it into today's events, did you know that, I mean, we kind of talked about it in the first Blade podcast, but even going into the production of this movie, Morbius was supposed to be the main villain. They still had plans to make him the main villain. Yeah, they were like, all right, even after the comic that established who Blade was in the comic run after his movie, they're like, all right, perfect opportunity to make him the villain, even though we didn't set it up in the first one. We're gonna make him the villain in this one, and they just, I guess they wanted to save him for his own film franchise. That was the plan, to save him for his own. I mean, it's kind of unique now because he he has his own film, but they wanted to do a Morbius franchise.
So actually, what was going on was when Sony bought the Spider-Man rights, they also bought the rights to any character that originates in a Spider-Man comic. So Morbius's origin takes place in a Spider-Man story, so they technically couldn't use the character because it was Sony's.
Oh, was that the deal?
So, yeah. So, because
got it.
A month after this film comes out, we have Sam Raimi's Spider-Man.
Is it really a month?
Was it? Wow.
30 days later.
Wow, and we get to watch it next week. What a world we live in, man. This is beautiful stuff. But
but
they just created Jared Nomak, and he's the villain of this movie, which is the Reaper, I guess, the Reaper vampire variant. But I guess you could say the vampire overlord. Ooh, I'm blanking.
Was that the white looking dude that kind of looked like what's his name? Yeah, Darth Sidious.
I'm catching your drift, Mike.
Yeah, what do you guys think about that guy? What do you think about his motives?
I find it weird that he was a part, like he was the father of those two characters. They look about the same age, but I mean,
yeah, they tried to age him up, but that didn't work too well.
No, they really didn't. They got to get some people from ILM.
I don't think that he fit in that world very much, because we didn't see any vampires like that before. Was he even a vampire?
He's more the classic embodiment of what a vampire is. He's not really what the Blade world has let us believe a vampire looks like.
He looked like Gargamel from Smurfs. That's what he reminded me of.
Yes, and he gave me like Voldemort vibes too. Like, just a white hooded figure, you know? Like, that's what he was.
Yeah, but no, I thought his motivations were pretty good, because he wants to just create the new race of vampires, more advanced in evolution and just making them better.
That's true. I mean, I didn't think he was the most compelling character. Let's just say that. I wasn't.
No, definitely
Yeah,
not.
I wasn't focused on him at all. I was focused on Blade and how cool he was and the whole fight between them. I mean, I like right when they get their mission, he's like, all right, we got places to go and people to see. Let's start just rolling through place to place to place. And the first standout scene that I keep coming back to, like I watched this scene so many times, is the scene where they are going into this underground warehouse, and it's, I forget the name of it now, and I hate that I'm blanking on it, but they all get there first, and
Oh, is it
Whistler,
the Vampire Nation? Is that
I
it?
don't think it's the Vampire Nation. They've got a name for it, and she says it. It's all foreboding. She's got to go to this place, and I'm forgetting the name, and I'm killing myself for it. But Whistler sets up his sniper rifle on the roof, scuds in
Yeah.
the car, and they walk towards this building in the most epic montage of all time, set to this some rap song that is just, it's a slow-mo shot of them walking towards it, and I can't get over how cool that scene was, because I was sitting there and I was like, oh my gosh, that's the moment I knew that this was a good movie. Like, I was in for a good movie.
Yeah, say what you want about these Blade films, but when you sit down and you just watch them play out, they are just good, fun, entertaining films.
And I will say, like, I get that. So I get where you're coming from for some of the criticisms, because I've had to kind of reassess and rethink how I want to rank the movies, because like maybe giving the first Blade a 7's a little too high because we've got a lot of other movies going on before that. But this one, I've really thought long and hard about the score for this movie, and I think I've got a good place for it. But we'll get to that scene last. Obviously, I've got some cool facts about this film for money wise and everything else like that. But I mean, I was telling him about the scene where they all montage into that one, I can't think of the name of the place, but they montage into the rap song, and it's a slow walk of them going in, and they open up the doors and they walk down it. It was just the
Oh yeah,
coolest
yeah.
thing.
That was the moment I wrote Suicide Squad.
Yes, that's what it was. That's what it reminded me of, and that's the moment where I was like, all right, this is gonna be a good movie.
Oh yeah.
And you even get Reinhardt's character get a bomb implanted in his head, just like Suicide Squad.
Exactly.
Because Blade sticks with being like this epic, total, like, I keep it PG, but BA character. I think we all know what I mean when I say that, but like, he is just the total coolest character, and he stays consistent with that. And I think it's all due to Wesley Snipes and how fantastic an actor he is.
Yeah, exactly. You have Reinhardt's character, like, before they fight, like, he's like antagonizing Blade. He wants beef. He wants to go hand to hand. And Blade just does this somersault real quick, like takes him out. Just
He's like
awesome. Like, you have Reinhardt, this vampire, part of this blood pack, who's been training for, what is it, 2 years to take down Blade, and he fails in a second.
Right. And I will say, I commented on the CGI that it was really good for their faces, but there are certain action sequences
Oh,
for
yeah.
Blade himself that do not hold up in the slightest.
No,
It
wait,
is-
hold on.
Okay.
Are you sure? For that time period, I thought it was pretty good. Like, we see Spider-Man next week, and you'll see some, like, what they can do, like what the max potential for CGI was that year. And you'll see it's still kind of patchy for Spider-Man, but we'll talk about that next week. That is the peak of what full body CGI could be in 2002.
But I'm saying it does not hold up right now. Like,
I thought it held up all right.
dude, hold on. There are certain scenes though when he's actually, like, they make him a full CGI model, and even in the dark you can tell that is a model, man. It was really dooky, and they spent their FX budget on the alien faces, absolutely. And they
Yeah, and
they
I
did their
will
best.
I will say this: those scenes, they look bad. I'll agree with Ben, but they felt really immersive to me. Like, the CGI style, it just felt like I was playing a video game, and that was a cut scene. And it looks like a cut scene too, just the way it plays. So I felt like it just immersed me in the movie in the strangest way possible.
Oh yeah, the
2002
choreography
cutscene.
was the choreography was insanely good, I thought. Did you guys think that, like, all the fighting was fantastic? The one so there are what, 2 or 3 huge fight scenes that are awesome with Wesley Snipes and just other people. And there's the one with the big blinding lights behind him. That one was the first one where we saw CGI, and I can tell that one was a little, iffy on the CGI. It was,
Right.
but the moves look cool. I even though the CGI is outdated, the moves were entertaining. Very cool stuff. And then the next best ones are at the end. They're always the best ones at the end. They always throw the. I like how Blade kind of takes a step back for a lot of this movie, and we get to see some more characters, and then we get to see, like, whenever we do see Blade, we know, okay, he's gonna fight, and it's gonna be cool, and it's gonna be epic. So at the end, we see this fight with him and what's his name? Is it Demaskinos, or is that the other guy? I don't know.
No, I think it is. I think you're right.
Yeah, Demaskinos, the son. So when he's fighting the sun dude, he does this flip. Do you guys remember that?
Yes.
And it kind of freeze frames on him when he's upside down. That was the coolest shot. It was so epic.
Yes.
It was just as epic, if not more epic, than when Wolverine does that thing around the Statue of Liberty with the claw. It's like, okay, yeah, that never happened in real life, but it's so epic, man.
I still think about that Wolverine scene, and I'm like, oh, that is a bad moment of CGI. Maybe once we get through this era of bad CGI, and I mean, we're kind of still sometimes in it, but maybe I'll just make a compilation of clips from each one of these movies of just bad CGI examples and just montage it throughout. Like, I'll just create a montage of video clips, because there's scenes in this one and there's scenes in the upcoming Spider-Man movie. I think we'll save that for when we talk about it. But I don't know. I'm with you on that one scene, Micah, where he jumps across his head, and I'm also with you when talking about the action sequences. There's one scene where he fights the sun again, and he uses his, like, is it a ninja star or like the two blades on either end? But he's
It's
like,
batarang.
Blade boomerang.
yeah, yes, a batarang. But it's kind of like that, where he's throwing that around. It just, I mean, the action in these movies.
Yeah, the batarang was kind of weak.
Like, they rival or are even greater than superhero movies today. You call yourself I mean, this is an action movie.
Oh, yeah.
First and foremost, rather than a superhero movie. I mean, we're starting to get into the era of real superhero films and they start to have a big impact on society, like Spider-Man and X-Men. But I mean, this was the start, man. This was action before comic books and universes and all that jazz.
Yeah, what you lose in good depth and character moments, you gain in awesome action sequences.
Yes.
With these Blade films.
And I think that's why I'm enjoying them. I'm not there for, like, I mean, I am there for the character development, but I know this isn't connecting to another universe, and I'm there for a good story, but I know that these films are action movies first and foremost, so I'm coming there for the action first and foremost. And that movie, well, both of these movies have now delivered, and I think Blade 2 beats it by just a little bit.
Yeah, action movies back then, they were made for, okay, what string of events, or what strings can we put between these action scenes, pretty much. And you can see what movies do a good job at that and which ones not so much. So I think this is one of the ones where it does a pretty good job at making the sequence of events line up so that those action scenes make sense.
Mm-hmm. Did you guys catch the two Easter eggs that reference Daredevil and Batman? It's done through dialogue, actually. There is two lines. They say, one, the man without fear, which is referencing Daredevil in this. I forget when it is. It's blanking on me.
I do remember hearing that, though.
Are they actual references?
I don't know if they have to be, right?
Yeah.
But this one is a definite reference. It can't be. Because Scud is there, and Blade returns to the lair, and Scud says, "The Dark Knight returns."
Yeah.
And that graphic
I remember
novel
that.
has come out by this time, and it's probably the most famous graphic novel out there, because that's what that graphic novel is. But I find it strange that this comic book movie also pays homage to two of the greatest characters, dark characters like Blade, from each respective universe, the Marvel Universe and the DC Universe. But I just thought those two were little cool tidbits of information. As far as characters go, do we have a favorite character? I mean, I think I know who mine is, but Ethan, do you?
It's Scud. It's Scud.
Is it really?
It's Scud. Yeah, I just every scene Norman Reedus was in, I was just so happy to see him on my screen, just greeting me with his beautiful face, and especially that scene when he's in the van. I was terrified for his life. I love introducing this new character that he's an actor in something else, so I immediately fall in love with him. And I love that they put him in all these dangerous scenarios where I thought there's no way he survives this. And he does for most of the movie. I really enjoyed that.
He gets really good over his career of surviving in dangerous situations. Micah,
Against flesh-eating.
oh my gosh! No wonder they hired him for Walking Dead.
Exactly. This was like one of three big things that Norman Reedus has been in. He's been in this. He was in Walking Dead, and he was in Death Stranding. Those are like the only three things that anyone has ever heard of Norman Reedus in. So, yeah, I thought that was funny.
It's because he's fighting walkers every week on AMC.
If it's not some paranormal, some
Yeah, he doesn't have time
supernatural-
to do anything else. I mean, maybe Ghost Rider. Maybe.
Please. No, he's too busy
Dude.
with the new show he's got coming up, or he's leading it, I guess. That's a whole different topic, though. Mike,
Yeah.
do you have a favorite character in Blade 2?
Well, Scud really made me laugh quite a bit. He was an amazing guy in the chair. I wish he didn't die, so I look forward to seeing him in the third
I
one.
know.
But gotta go with Blade on this one. Man, the choreography, the fight scenes, like it was just insanely good. I loved it so much. I don't think I've enjoyed watching a hand-to-hand like melee combat as much as I have in this movie. Nothing comes to mind right away, but I'm sure there are things that compete with it. Something maybe from John Wick, or John Wick is stellar for
action.
for action.
Action, I think John Wick is the top of the line, man. Those
Oh,
action
yeah.
sequences are a degree above the rest. But I'm with you. Blade's my
Yeah,
favorite
maybe
character.
Shang-Chi. Once we get to Shang-Chi, we'll see that. That was awesome choreography too with the
Yes,
fighting.
That is true.
So yeah, got to go with Blade on this one. Close second for Scud. So
I'm right there with you, because just because Blade is just, I mean, I'm so excited now that he's going into the MCU, because this character in the world, I'm so excited. But throughout this movie, there's a little subplot that I totally forgot about. He starts off and he's fighting these vampires, and he leaves one alive, and he says, "Don't think I'm going to forget about you."
Yep. Yeah.
And the whole movie goes along, and that vampire survives, and they win the final fight. And at the very end of the movie, the last scene, he goes and meets the vampire and kills him, and he said, "You didn't think I was going to forget about you, did you?" And I think that is the coolest way to end a movie, in a scene that I forgot about. That was so, I mean, come on. That is the coolest thing. Only Blade, someone as cool as Blade, can pull that off, man.
oh, and it was hilarious too. He goes to the vampire dude goes to this peep show, and he's like, "Okay, here we go. We're gonna do this." And he gets
getting
out
his tissues ready.
He's got his razor blade ready, because oh man, that's disgusting with the razor blade thing. Ugh.
Ugh.
I guess that's how vampires get off. But
guess
yeah,
so.
and then the curtains open, and who is it? Wesley Snipes' Blade.
Boom.
like such
And he's
a
like,
perfect
"What?"
ending to this film.
Yep.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
instead of trying to be this big emotional Rogue One ending, because you have him and Nisa as she's dying and the sun is setting,
Which
or
is
the sun
emotion-
is rising. Actually,
I
yeah,
got, like, that was a good scene. I think
that
was
is a good scene.
Yeah.
I felt,
But I love that Blade does what Blade does, and sure, they'll give you an emotional moment, but that's not the core of Blade. The core of Blade is it's going to cut to a scene of him killing a vampire, and it was just
Oh,
a
yeah.
great, perfect ending to this film.
So, little tidbit of information. This is Wesley Snipes' favorite Blade film that he's done. He likes 1 and 3, but for what it's worth, this is Wesley Snipes' favorite Blade movie. And I mean, I can see why, man. I think it's mine. I mean, I haven't seen Trinity yet, but it doesn't have the best IMDb score for those of you who have seen the
Yeah.
movie. So, well, I mean, we will get to it, though. I think it's in 2 years or something, 2004 when that one comes out. But do we have a favorite scene in Blade 2? Is there any scene that really stands out? Or if not a scene that you really like, something that you just liked in general about the movie? I mean, and Micah, I'll throw this question to you first.
Well, the scene that is certainly most memorable for me, if not for the best reasons, was that rave scene. I don't know if you guys talked about this while I was messing with my car. It just started
No, yeah.
talking, but
When they go to
yeah,
rave.
do you guys remember that at all, or did your minds block it out because of how grotesque it was?
No,
So,
yeah, I thought
the
that
rave
scene
was
great.
disgusting. All right, so
Yeah.
these vampires, because they're not they say at one point that all those vampires are not purebloods. They're not born vampires. Those were all humans turned. And the true vampires in our little group dudes, they're like, oh, these disgusting dudes. They're so gross. Because I guess they're more civilized than the people turned vampires. So okay, but these guys in the club, the humans turned vampires, what they do, because they have this very quick regeneration, what they do is they cut themselves open and perform open heart surgery and back surgery, and they
Yeah.
slice open their arms and backs and chests. It's just disgusting. And then you see there's this couple, and they're all looking at each other romantically, think they're gonna go kiss, and then they pull out razor blades each, and they put them on their tongue, and then they start making out, and it's like, oh man, this is I don't want to.
Yeah.
And it goes on for like 5 minutes as they're searching this club, and it feels like forever, because every scene, every cutaway, you're like, oh, okay, whew, we're glad we're done with that, because it cuts to someone who's in a hallway or something. Then it goes back to the big club room with Ron Perlman or something, and he just looks over in disgust at this dude who's got his back completely open with all of his ribs hanging out, and man, this is. But to go along with that, it looks real. Like that Guillermo del Toro knocking it out of the park again with the prosthetics. Like it's insane how fantastic he can get these props to look. And some of them are actually body parts, like people with things on their back, prosthetics, or people with prosthetic arm makeup and stuff. And it's really convincing. And I was really impressed by it and disgusted.
Yeah, Micah, you're describing my least favorite scene. I asked you what your favorite scene was, and you're describing my least favorite scene because of how disgusting.
That's just the first scene of how memorable it is. It's just memorable for me in the worst way possible. I hate I hate that scene because it's so good in that way.
That's fair.
It did its job.
Yeah, it's like a horror movie. Your favorite part of a horror movie is going to be the scariest scene, right? So, and because this movie is a Guillermo del Toro movie, it's going to be whatever scene makes you cringe the most because of disgust and grotesqueness. So, yeah.
That is very true. Ethan, do you have a favorite scene in this movie?
Yeah, I'll say it's right along the lines of what Mike is saying, but not exactly what he's saying. But I do love all the stuff in that rave building that they're in. I love the setup. I love you got Norman Reedus, Scud in the van. You got Whistler on the roof. You got the rest of the Blood Pack and Blade and Nisa and Assad in the building. I love all that. I love the cut scenes of them all searching for the Reapers through it. But my absolute favorite scene in this entire movie is when you have Reinhardt's character. He has his laser pointed right at Blade's chest. And I forget which of the other Blood Pack characters was like, yeah, well, he's got you. And it cuts to a wider shot of Blade, Wesley Snipes. Has the biggest grin on his face, and he's pointing his gun.
He hasn't moved at all, too. His arms are still crossed. He's just got this thing. It's like this.
It's like the most obvious. It was just such a funny visual.
Another hilarious visual to me that was kind of goes along with the grotesque line. When Donnie Yen, that's our guy from Rogue One, Snowman, when he's fighting that main guy, the main vampire dude thing with the so he stabs him in like the crotch or something, and he's pinned up against the wall, and then he crawls up the wall, and the sword just slices through him, leaving his entrails behind. It's disgusting.
That was quite disgusting.
As cool as the action was in this film, there were certainly some grotesque scenes that earned that R rating. Absolutely, like
Yeah.
it's bad, man. It is
These
not
these
bad, but
dudes, these dudes are way cooler than the vampires. The
the
hybrid
Reapers.
dudes, yeah, the Reapers, they're way cooler than the vampires from the last movie. Well, how would you compare them between the two? Like, we got the vampires from Twilight pretty much compared to walkers from Walking Dead. There's no comparison. Or even the zombies from what's that one where they can run? And there's
Uh,
this big wall.
World War
World War
Z.
Z.
World
Yeah,
War
Yeah.
Z. Yeah,
yeah.
they're comparable to the World War Z zombies, I think.
Good movie, by the way. I'll always defend World War Z. I love that movie. Even like, I know it's got a lot of mixed reviews, but I love that movie. It's got a great music.
What do you think, Ben? What was your favorite scene? Which one were you thinking?
Oh, my favorite scene is when they all enter the House of Pain. That is the word I was looking for.
Yes, the House of Pain.
Whistler sets up on the roof, Scud's in the car, and they walk to "Eye Against Eye" is the song that is playing, and they slow-mo walk to there. The scene stayed with me, and I watched it like 3 times today just because of how cool it was. I'm gonna try and play it if you're watching on YouTube right here, but I mean, it's just so cool, man. I love that scene so much. I know, Mike.
What do you think of the
Yeah, go ahead. Actually, my bad.
What do you think of the soundtrack while we're at it? I thought it fit pretty well, but what about you?
So when I'm watching a movie,
Compared to Blade.
yeah, I always look for a track that like stands out, and I can like put on a playlist that's a playlist worthy song. And I don't think there was any playlist worthy songs from the score for this movie, but I did think it was an improvement on the first one. And I'm just waiting for that, like the Blade theme. And I don't really think there is one. I think it's just music to fit the scene, you know? And sometimes that's just the way you get with movies, unfortunately. But like this movie compared to the next movie that we're gonna watch, like the Danny Elfman composes a beautiful Spider-Man theme. Like that first one is, I think there's only one Spider-Man themes that beats it out. But when you hear it, you know, boom, that's Spider-Man. But there's no piece of music that you hear that screams, boom, oh my gosh, that's Blade. And sometimes that's a little lacking. But again, this is an action movie first and foremost. Would I like the score to be better? Yes. Does it hurt my score for the movie? Not really.
Yeah, I thought it fit pretty well. There were a couple parts where I'm like, ooh, this beat is pretty good.
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly which parts, but I remember it was just whenever Blade's being epic.
Yeah. And that's
I thought it fit better. Oh, no super cheesy early 2000s club music with just like EDM and techno drums. I thought that was a big improvement over the first one.
I'm pretty sure there is, actually.
It's different. It's different.
Oh,
it's
is it
not
different?
as it's not as just like it's
yeah.
more like real music. It's not just drone whatever take LSD to listen to it things.
I gotcha. No, you're right. You're right there. I get you. I know we've gone over the favorite scene of the movie, but is there a least favorite scene? I've spoken for myself in the scene that Micah said was standout. That's my least favorite scene. That was just disgusting. But do we have a least favorite scene in Blade 2? I think I'll throw this one to Ethan first. Is there anything you didn't like in this movie, if not for a favorite scene?
No, I don't have like a huge thing I hated in this movie, but a scene that I wish was just better was the flashback with Whistler's death. I wish they gave us a new perspective of that, show us what happened from Whistler's point of view, instead of just giving us the same scene. I thought if they were going to give us a flashback, they'd give us something with more context and show us how he survived, how the vampires got a hold of him. But no, they just they skipped over that. So I wish that was a little better.
That's legitimate criticism. Micah, do you have anything that you have a problem with or a least favorite scene in Blade 2?
Really, I would say the same thing. Or I would say the same scene. I wouldn't say that I think it should be expanded upon. I think that it was fine for what it did, but like I think it was a fine enough excuse to get Whistler back in. I think that if we took too much time with it, then it would take too much time. If there was an editor's cut or a director's cut where it was an extra half hour. I mean, this movie's already 2 hours long, and that's almost unheard of. This is our longest movie so far. Besides, yeah, this is our longest movie in our Marvel timeline so far. And
It's
if
funny,
you add in
the
an extra
longest
half
movie.
hour,
Yeah.
yeah, 2 hours. Wow, it's pretty long, guys. Wow.
Right? Just
So,
wait.
yeah, with that, it's just I think it was the perfect length. But if they can change it in some way to um, show how, there's another thing. A big plot point is kind of glossed over. I don't understand why Blade trusts the vampires
Yes,
so
yeah,
easily.
I 100% agree.
That
It
first scene with Gargamel, I forgot his name. I don't care. Uh, he just like convinces Blade. Blade's just like, okay, I'll help you. What?
Yeah, that is one of my big criticisms with the movie, especially with Blade bringing Whistler and Scud. I mean, Whistler's already been bitten, so he's technically cured of the vampireness. But Scud, he really could have blown his cover by going so willingly with the group of vampires, the Blood Pack. I don't know why Blade didn't question why he was cool just being on the mission with them.
Well, I
It
think
just
Blade knows. I feel like he knows that it's a trap, but he also recognizes that there is this legitimate threat of Reapers. You know, I think he knows that they're eventually going to betray him, which eventually they do. And you get the reveal that even though Scud's betraying him, Blade's like, "Hey, guess what? I knew you were a double agent for the vampires." I think in that scene, it's supposed to
It's
symbolize
not a
that.
dud.
Exactly. It's supposed to.
not a dud.
It's supposed to say that, hey, guess what? Blade actually, he knows what he's talking about. He knows what he's doing. And even though the vampires are there to betray him, eventually, there is this other threat that he recognizes that, hey, this is going to be a threat to not only me, but to the vampires. So in a way, they almost have to work together.
But here's the thing: I forget the Voldemort guy when he's doing his pitch.
All right, we need to find out
He's
the name
like,
of that guy.
he's like, we're gonna run out. They're gonna run out of vampires to eat, and then start eating humans. I think Blade should have just been like, all right, when all you people I've been hunting, when they eat all of you, then I will kill them. Then two jobs, one stone, two birds, one stone. You know,
All right, I'm with
that's
you.
what I think he should have done.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess
also
that's not
thought
what
the,
Guillermo del Toro thought they should have done. But the name of that guy was Damaskinos. So
Damaskinos?
the
Okay, so that was
Overlord guy is
Damaskinos.
Damaskinos, and
Sick name.
the leader of those Reapers was Nomak. That's who it was.
Nomak.
Sorry, they all look the same and they act the same, and they're not really that important other than to be destroyed and chopped up by Blade.
Yeah.
That's why they're.
Yeah, I think that they're the motives of these villains kind of is what brings the whole movie down a bit.
Yeah, that's true.
Like I said earlier, it's just an excuse to string together all of these awesome action scenes with Blade and to step up the full progress of the Blade lore just like one or two ticks. It's not a huge advancement of the story. I mean, yeah, you see a little bit more Blade, you get Whistler back, all these things, but even from the beginning, it was kind of a weak excuse to bring this guy in. I didn't really like the blood bank scene. I didn't understand it. I wasn't sure who was what and what was what. Eventually, you're like, oh, okay, they're vampires. All right, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, now I'm in this. But then it switches it completely, and he's not a vampire. He's more than a vampire. He's a whatever, some genetic anomaly guy. So, yeah, I don't know. I didn't really like that first scene, and I didn't really like the Whistler, how they handled Whistler. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, how the heck is this going to fit into a larger universe? Because this, like, almost every character in here is made up. You know? They don't appear in anything else except for Blade. I mean, the villain's made up. All of the Blood Pack is made up. Nis is made up, who I guess is a part of the Blood Pack. And, I mean, I don't really know if it's different than anything we talked about in Blade 1, you know? Like, is Blade going to appear? I would love him to appear. Like, I said that fan theory. Like, I read that during the first one, where you have Wesley Snipes appear as Whistler in the upcoming...
Ali.
Exactly.
Yeah.
In that
That'd be
Blade
cool.
movie. Okay, that would be sick. And as I've thought about it more and more, I'm like, okay, this is a top 10 idea. I don't know if Marvel will hire him because of all of the crap that he went through, but I mean, that's definitely cool, man.
Think we'll see him in Multiverse of Madness? Any changes on the opinion,
I
on the
I
theory?
What did we say last time? Did I say no?
I think we said no.
I'm
no.
saying yes. I'm saying yes now.
I thought that
Good.
we'd see him in Morbius. Unfortunately,
That didn't
this is
happen.
a post-Morbius world, and
Dun, dun, dun.
yeah, unfortunately, Morbius was not all that was expected of
What are
it.
you
So,
talking about? It's the first
no,
movie
it
to
wasn't.
sell a trillion tickets.
Dude, Morbius sweep.
Hashtag
Oh my
Morbius
gosh.
sweep. That's like the greatest meme ever. I looked at so many videos about that.
Jesse, we gotta cook them at somewhere empty. All right, Mr. White, I bought tickets to Morbius. We're gonna cook them at there. Mr. White, there's so many people here. Jesse, you. Jesse, didn't you know about hashtag Morbius sweep?
Jesse, you didn't know about this, Jesse. I love that. That is so good.
So the 1 trillion tickets.
First movie ever to do. Dude, it's got a 262% on Rotten Tomatoes. Are you kidding me? That's never been done.
How's
ever.
that? Let's keep updating this every week. All right, so where is the box office right now for Morbius? Is it doing well?
Oh, that's a good question. Because now it's almost
It
2
wasn't
weeks
bad
now.
for.
No, I'm pretty sure it was.
Oh, here we go. Friday box office. Morbius plunges a record 83% as
Whoa.
Batman continues.
Oh, wow.
top.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
However, Morbius did just pass 100 million worldwide. So
Oh.
yesterday.
So not a flop by any means, but
Oh, definitely
a
not,
flop,
especially for
flop
Columbia.
this weekend.
Columbia
Yeah.
Pictures, like they're rocking on this. This and Uncharted are amazing
You
successes.
mean
for them.
Sony or is it Columbia?
Columbia Pictures is Sony.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Interesting.
So yeah, they're making money. So I guess
the
it's like Venom.
reviews.
It's like Venom. Like people hate him, people love him, and the people who love him just keep watching it.
Yeah, but
they
Venom
keep bringing
doesn't
people to
get
see him.
like Morbius level scores, you know? Like Venom didn't
But it
get
got
that-
Morbius level numbers with the box office. I heard it did awesome.
Venom did better than Morbius, way better. That
Okay.
Venom 2 movie made 400
Venom is more
million.
recognizable too, so that's justifiable.
Well,
But
dude, the first Venom movie made $800 million, dude. That's a lot of freaking money for a Venom movie
Yeah.
that's trash.
I know.
Like Morbius is better than both of those movies.
Man, you guys really brought the mood down. I was excited. We were talking about Blade, but now you brought up the Sony
So-
Spider-Man universe.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
You
didn't
be
We gotta
all
get back.
depressed.
Well, here. Let's tie it back in. Are we going to see? I don't think we talked about this in the Morbius podcast. Are we going to see Blade in a future Morbius movie or
No.
Sinister Six?
Unless
No.
Sony has the brains to get on board with Marvel, I don't think that's ever gonna happen. And
So what you're
honestly,
saying is, we only have one more movie to talk about the epicness of Blade for the next like long period of time.
Was cameoed in Multiverse.
Until
which I'm
Eternals.
now
Until Eternals. We get to talk about him in Eternals.
Oh,
so that'll be
true.
fun.
Yeah,
'Cause he's in the post-credit scene
Yes.
as a voiceover.
you're right.
yes, and by the time
catch,
by the
Micah.
time that
Alright.
I mean by the time we get to that movie, Blade will probably be out, you know? Because
Yep. Blade 1, 2, and whatever. Blade and Morbius, Blade versus Morbius, whatever that's gonna be
see,
called.
that's cool. I would want to watch that movie, man. I'd watch that movie.
Yeah, that'd be sick.
I know. Whatever. I don't
All
know.
right. Do you think what are you guys' predictions for Trinity? Because we haven't seen it yet. Or do you guys have any predictions for Trinity? Are they just gonna do another whatever made up Blade thing?
I have a question. I forgot. Does
Yeah.
Whistler die at the end of this movie? I don't think he does.
No.
He's alive.
No.
Correct.
Mhm.
Okay.
Wouldn't it be funny if
Yeah.
they killed him off in this
That
movie
would be-
again and then brought him back?
I would absolutely hate that if they killed him. Oh, you bring him back just to kill him again? No.
Right.
What I hope for Blade 3 is that Whistler has a better story. That's all.
Okay. Yep. I'm with that.
I'm
And that they
hoping that. Yeah,
No,
go
go
for
ahead,
it, Ethan.
go ahead.
Finish your thing.
I
have a
hope that
different-
they go back to Blade. Like for me, a big critique of this movie is you spend too much on-screen time with other characters. I just want Blade back in the highlight.
Okay. See, I thought that was a strength of this movie. Like they spent so much
Yeah.
time with everyone else because they spent the first movie building up Blade's character. You don't have to do that as much in the second film.
like The Dark Knight. Oh,
Oh, Dude,
There we go.
this film is as good as The Dark Knight. Holy crap! I think that's what we're realizing right now. Dang! Oh my god!
Don't think it's Dark Knight levels, but we'll yeah.
That was me.
I
Yeah.
yeah. I
That was
hope
me,
for
though.
this third movie that we'll see in what, like 6 weeks. What do we got? We got Spider-Man, Daredevil, X2, Hulk, Punisher, Spider-Man 2, Blade Trilogy.
Oh
So
man.
we've got a while until we see Blade Trinity.
What a lineup! By then, we'll actually want to watch Blade, probably, maybe.
Yeah.
knows?
So oh man, we might have Love and Thunder out by then too.
Wow.
All right, so
Yeah. Well, if we're lucky, we'll finally get that trailer by that time.
we'll
Jeez.
see.
We'll
I hope that for the third movie, they use elements that we've been hinted at in these first 2 movies. So I hope that we really get to see Blade's hatred for the vampires, because we get that huge in Blade One, and then it's completely gone in Blade 2. He's just like, oh, these are bad guys that I don't like very much. But they get along for the most part because he makes them respect him in a way. But I don't think that Blade would want their respect. I don't think that's very characteristic of him. So I hope that in this third movie they fix that. I know they probably won't fix much because I heard this movie sucks. So I hope that he weaponizes the serum to cure all of the vampires and knock down the entire vampire organization. So that's my prediction for Blade Trinity.
I will say the one thing I do know about Blade Trinity is that Ryan Reynolds is a part of that.
Really?
I have no idea how or what he does.
I think he's a major character.
Is he really
in the movie? Yeah.
I only know that he's a part of that movie, and I'm glad. I'm not gonna do anything.
I know nothing about Blade 3.
Figure that out.
Nothing
So,
at all.
I just hope that there's like, if this is the third film, I hope there's a definitive like, all right, this is the Blade trilogy. We're gonna end it here. I don't know if they're gonna do that or not, but I like that, a nice cap off, you know.
I'm not sure if it is, because what I've heard is there were aspirations to make a 4th Blade film, but
really,
Wesley Snipes got arrested and put in jail.
Oh, so they
for
stopped
tax fraud.
because of Wesley.
So that's why there was no 4th Blade film.
Ooh, I see.
You gotta pay your taxes or hide them well enough.
Dang it, man.
Blade's gotta pay his taxes. They don't care how many vampires you kill in the underworld.
Dang it.
The IRS
Sucks.
is gonna get you.
Oh, well, all right. Well, okay, let me give you some numbers here. You know how I've been doing? I've been keeping that list. I've got my 3 lists of stuff.
Oh yeah,
besides
do you have
our-
your 3 reviews? Your 1, 5, and 10?
Oh, yes. Yes, sir. I got one.
Forgot about that.
I decided to switch it up. I did get a review, and it's right here. It's on the day that this film came out. So it's on IMDb, and I decided to switch it up and only do 1 review, but it's on the category that has the most feedback. So you know how IMDb has all the charts, and there's this thing left however many reviews, and for Blade 2, the most reviews are on 8 out of 10, and it says a sequel that does everything in its power to top the original, and it comes out being as good. Blade 2 takes what the first Blade film was good and transforms it into a different country with different characters and a possibly deeper feel, and it works without going into bad sequel range. This time, the vampires, and it goes over the plot. Overall, Blade 2, for the fans of the first one, will not disappoint them. It contains enough imaginativeness and gore effects to brighten the most down of horror film and comic book enthusiasts. The film also contains some of the best makeup I've seen in a while in a horror movie. So, I mean, they liked it. 80 reviews leave.
Completely agree.
For the 8 out of 10. And I'm with that review, man. I'm
completely agree with that, man.
Very positive. So I don't know if that's how I want to keep it, but I think the 1 review works best because this is what the majority of people thought, and it's pretty much right where the audience score is. I actually think the audience score for this one's a 6.7 out of 10. But this is the one with the most feedback. So clearly a lot of people thought this movie was an 8 out of 10. So I don't know if I'll keep that up, but for Marvel films ranked based off of box office performance, this movie comes in second. It made $155 million, and it's below X-Men. Mm-hmm. So it beat the first Blade movie by about $20 million. As far as Rotten Tomatoes score goes, this movie beats the first Blade movie by 1%.
Wow.
58% over the first one, but it does come in second. Obviously, X-Men still first with 82%. And then based on the audience score for Rotten Tomatoes, Blade 2 is third. So Blade 1 has a 78% and Blade 2 has a 68%. So a drop right there, but it's right in line with its its IMDb score, the 6.7, 6.8 range, 68%. So obviously X-Men still is the top of our list and the number one film.
Wait, I noticed you didn't mention Howard the Duck at all in that discussion
Because
there.
Howard the Duck is last in all of those categories.
knocked off the leaderboard.
Ouch. Ouch. All right, gentlemen, do we have anything else to say before we give our scores?
Let me
for
just
Blade
review my
and
notes
put
real
it
quick.
in
Yeah,
to-
I just want to
Vampires
shout
were
out.
way less cringy in this. I like
That's
that.
true. Yeah, you
Yup.
don't have no Steven Dorff.
What were you saying?
I paused the movie. I had watched with the closed captions on, and I paused the movie as they were naming all the blood pack. I rewinded it just because their names were so hilarious. So I just want to read them right now. I wrote them all down. You got Lighthammer, Verlaine, Priest, Snowman, Chupa, and Reinhardt.
Dang, what cool names, man.
Oh,
Chupa.
I thought it was funny how Snowman, our guy from Rogue One, still has a disability. He's mute.
Dang.
He's not blind in this one. He's mute. So that's one thing.
When he
And then another thing that was very blatant. I don't know if you guys caught this, but Oakley sponsorship.
Oh,
The sunglasses?
I did not.
Blade's sunglasses were Oakley. The drug dealer's beanie was Oakley.
Wow.
Reinhardt's glasses were also Oakley. There was a lot of Oakley in this thing.
I didn't catch that.
I kind of want to go buy some Oakleys right now.
That's a good score for Oakley.
And
right
I
there.
wonder if this was one of the movies that made like this and Matrix, how they both have the same sort of glasses. I wonder if that's why cops wear those Oakleys that wrap around like that, because they're just so cool. You know?
It can't be. But if
Worn
it's
by
true,
cool people.
that would be the most coolest thing ever. Because of
Dude,
Blade and
who-
Matrix.
You know
Who
what?
wouldn't
I
wanna
think
look like
I
Blade?
think we got to interview the police.
Do we know a
Yeah.
cop? Actually, I know a cop.
We'll get the whole police.
Yeah, my
on
uncle's
the
a cop. He wears those
podcast.
glasses.
Let's get him on the podcast, man.
Let's get him on the podcast. I'll get him on for the
Wow.
Punisher podcast.
Ooh.
He's one of the dudes that's got Punisher stickers on his truck. So
Oh. Am I wearing a Punisher? No, I'm not. I'm wearing a Toon Squad shirt right now. My bad. I thought I was. I was wearing one yesterday. I was wondering if it was still on. I don't know.
All right, and then last thing, I've got costumes were awesome.
Yes,
they,
agreed.
knocked them out of the park once again. So I think the leather is kind of wearing out by this point. I think this is one of the last few movies that still embrace the full leather trench coat thing going on. We'll see if they keep it up with number 3, because in this one, the entire blood pact is still wearing leathers. 6, is that what the third one's from? 2004.
Yeah.
So we got 2 more years.
2004. Yep. That was the one,
Yeah.
man.
And by the looks of the poster, there's leather. So don't get your hopes up.
Indeed. All right, gentlemen.
Is it score time?
Now
Let me pull up the
time
spreadsheet.
is- Pull up the spreadsheet, Mike.
I got the spreadsheet. Okay.
All right. Ethan, we'll go with your score first.
All right. So, like I said, I really love this movie. I love the Blade universe. I really enjoy just immersing myself in this world and meeting all the new characters and all the new lore. And I really enjoyed Scud and having Whistler back on screen. And it was just a super fun, entertaining movie. But that being said, I still like the first Blade movie significantly better than this one. I think the first Blade movie did such a great job at introducing us to this world, introducing us to the lore, giving Blade a lot cooler moments. I do think his 2 fight scenes in the first Blade don't even come close, or no scene in this movie comes close to those 2. I just think they're just so good. And I love learning the world for the first time. So yeah, I'm putting this one under the first Blade and under X-Men. And what did I score the first Blade at? I think about a 7.
Yeah, you gave it You gave Blade a 7, and you gave X-Men a 7.1.
All right, this will go at a 6.9.
Wow,
Right,
filling it in, filling it
right
in.
under there. I mean, like
Nice.
Ben said, we got a lot of movies
Nice.
to review, and I got to save
Nice indeed.
every point I can.
All right, that's fair. 6.9 for Ethan
And
for Blade 2.
I do take points away from Blade 2 because of some sloppy aspects. I don't like the lack of Blade in this film. I think he needed to be more prominent. I don't like focusing on Priest and Chupa. I don't care about you. I want more of Blade on my screen. I think the way they bring back Whistler is sloppy. And just some of the scenes weren't the best. You have that whole scene in the rave where Blade is this sacred vampire killer known as the Daywalker.
Oh yeah, and he's just hanging out.
And he's just hanging out in the rave. I mean, maybe everyone's drunk and high out of their minds because who knows what they do at a rave, but he's just standing there. And I don't know. I don't have too many critiques of this movie. I do think it's very fun, but I think I like the Blade one a lot more. Not a lot more, a point more.
Okay. I was going to say 0.1 more.
Yep.
Yeah. Micah, your score for Blade 2.
So I really like this movie. This movie is definitely disagreeing with Ethan here. It is the best movie we've seen so far out of our wide selection of Howard the Duck, Blade, X-Men. This big cast of characters, even Morbius. It's so with this movie, I really liked what they did with Blade. Ethan said that Blade didn't get enough screen time. I think that they used his screen time perfectly. I think that, in the rave scene, he could have been used better and whatnot. But they do spend too much time trying to develop these blood. What are they called? The blood pack. Yeah, but I think that it's just kind of what this movie is for. It's to develop. It's to show. Oh man, there's this cool group of whatever. So. I love the prosthetics. Guillermo del Toro knocks it out of the park with that. The writing is I didn't notice any writing that stood out that was bad. That was just outright bad. And I think that's the first part in this. It's the first movie we've seen that doesn't have just an awful line in it.
Mm-hmm.
That's just what do they call you? Wheels?
Yep.
So no lines like that, or I'm trying to think of one from Howard the Duck but that's just a lot of examples from Howard the Duck. So with Blade, I was considering breaking the 8. I was considering breaking 8 out of 10 for this. But I think throughout this podcast, Ethan has convinced me it is not quite an 8. I'm going to give it a 7.8.
Oh, wow.
Out of 10.
Okay.
I really enjoyed this movie. But it's knocked down from an 8. My score was 8.2. And then I was thinking, well, it doesn't advance what we already know about the Blade world. It doesn't go into a greater story. It's not setting up a sequel too much. It kind of ties off all the ends. I don't really know where they can go from here. And that might be why Blade 3 is bad. We'll see about that. So I love the choreography. That really bumped it up past a 7 for me. Prosthetics are amazing. Characters are awesome. Everything's epic about it. It's just those few things that don't contribute that make it an outstanding film. That's what has to break it for an 8 for me. So, we're going to give it a 7.8.
7.8.
Wow.
Yes.
All right.
Mike going high with Howard the Duck and pretty high with Blade 2.
Hey man, we still have 2.2 points to go for best for an out of 10 score. So why not start fleshing out those higher ranks?
Okay.
Well, I thought I was going to be the one to like this the most, but I think I'm going to have to. I'm still kind of debating on my score. You know what? I have an actual score, and it's a. Well, you know what? I'll say what I really liked about this movie. I do disagree with you, Ethan. I think, to Micah's point, Blade was used really well in this movie because we know him so well from the first movie. A lot is set up there, and I think you do need to focus on the Reapers because they are your main villain, your main antagonist in this movie, so they need that film time. And I disagree with your point of investing in the blood pack. I think they aren't invested on enough. I really don't know about any of them other than that Reinhardt is a little racist, you know? Beyond that, I think they're just all really cool caricatures of, these cool vampires. So if anything, they weren't given enough, but I think they were given just enough to be this group of assassins. And I also really like the relationship between Blade and Nyssa. Their interaction in the end, when she says goodbye to him in the sunlight, is almost as evocative as the first movie or it hits you at least the hardest when they bring that vampire leader out and burn him in front of the sun. It's a very emotional moment for different reasons, but it still hits you the same. And the more world building this does, gets me more invested in this universe. And I hate to see the low rating on Blade 3, which makes me think that it's going to take it down a notch. But for right now, Blade 1 was a hit, and Blade 2 definitely succeeds that, in my opinion. So for that, I give it a 7.5 out of 10.
Okay.
Better than Blade. I believe I put that at a 7, but 7.5 is my review. A full half a point over Blade. I think it definitely improves on it. I can't quite get it to an 8 because of some problems with CGI. Ethan has convinced me on Whistler's point. I think he was brought back a little too quickly. I didn't even think about that when I was watching it. And then, the CGI was really crappy at times. It stood out. Even though the prosthetics were great for those practical effects, there were some certain scenes with your titular character where he's running around or jumping over people where it was like, holy catfish, this really stands out. But otherwise, just a really great movie, and the best, in my opinion, that we've seen so far. So where does that put Blade, Micah, in the overall multiverse rating?
In your explanation, actually, I kind of dropped down to a 7.6. We'll call it there. We'll say for me 7.6.
Okay.
7.6. Okay.
With our average, it brings us down to 7.3 repeating. So 7 and a third out of 10.
Got it. Is that?
I think that's a very respectable score.
Yeah.
It's number 1 right now then, yeah?
Number 1, yep. So
and I'm not mad at where you guys put it. Like, I came into this podcast fully ready to be convinced that this is a better movie than Blade. I was not, but I still really enjoy this film. And with this watch through, we're watching 40 plus films.
Right.
So there are going to be films where this happens, where the other two like it more than one person. And like it happened with Ben and X-Men. Me and Michael liked X-Men more than Ben did. So yeah, it's just, this is the start of what's about to happen, especially when we start getting into the better movies and further down the line.
Indeed. I think that does it, gentlemen. We've got, so Micah, actually remind us of the scoring, the ranking of where we're at right now.
So the standing right now is bottom, we got Howard the Duck at a 4.16 repeating. And then second place, we got Blade with a 6.9. Nice. And next we got X-Men with a 6.9. Nice. 3 repeating.
Oh,
nice,
okay.
Nice. And then first place we got Blade 2 with a 7.3 repeating.
Oh,
But yeah,
okay.
like 4.4 points over Blade, X-Men. X-Men and Blade. Yeah, I can
Close. I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah,
Yes.
0.4 points. Almost a half point over Blade. I like that.
But yeah, for those of you guys who are still listening, next week, as we talked about, is Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2002. I checked to see what streaming services it was available on. Unfortunately, it's only on Amazon for rent or purchase. So, I mean, of course, I have a Blu-ray copy of it already.
Same
Yeah,
here.
I've got 2.
So if you don't have that, you're going to have to rent it or watch it some other way.
But I
They've
mean,
got the 8-pack or whatever at Walmart where you can get 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3 Venom, Spider-Verse. You can get like all the movies in one pack. So,
but who hasn't seen the first Spider-Man movie with Tobey Maguire? That's the thing.
exactly.
For the rewatch, it might be difficult, but it's a sure bet that you've seen Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man 1 from 2002 before. And I'm really excited to talk about it.
Heck, I watched it a couple months ago.
Same here, man.
I'm so excited.
I'm
that
excited.
movie's. I'm so
Yeah,
next
and
week's
we
gonna be
can
fun.
really get into it, man. And it's just it's a movie that it's the first movie here that I really remember seeing, and it's just a good movie, man. I've seen it twice, and I'm gonna rewatch it again for a third time now.
Well, because you're a late bloomer with
I am.
Spider-Man, right?
Yep.
You didn't watch it
for
till
the first time this summer.
wow.
And then I watched it again in fall, and now I'm gonna watch it a third time. So hopefully the third time I can find a lot of good stuff to talk
And
about.
this will definitely be our first. This is my first time watching it again after seeing No Way Home. So
Yep.
I'm really looking forward to that aspect of it.
Same here, and there is almost. You know what? We'll save it for that movie.
Yes,
Save it
yeah.
for that movie. But I think that does it, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for sticking around. Subscribe to the YouTube. Leave us a follow on Spotify or a review, as well as on Apple Podcasts. For now, this is Ben Rayside.
This is Ethan Westloff.
This is Micah Het.
Signing off. We all hope you have an absolutely fantastic day.